Mr. President, I thank you and the Slovenian presidency of the Security Council response to the request by Algeria to convene this meeting in light of the further deterioration of the grave situation and rising civilian casualties in occupied Palestine, both in the Gaza Strip and in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, at the hands of the illegal Israeli occupation. Also listened very carefully to the statements of the briefers. Mr. President, members of the Council, Israel has unleashed war against the Palestinian people. Israel is seeking to impose a military solution to the conflict by disappearing these facts. From genocide to apartheid, Israel is showing the world its willingness and readiness to use despicable means to achieve its colonial aims. Dispossession, displacement, devastation, destruction, death is what it has been inflicting on Palestinians for decades. But our people are enduring them today at a scale experienced since the Nakba. Instead of ending the Nakba, Israeli fascist extremist leaders have decided to try to bring it to ultimate conclusion. Palestine with no Palestinians. We should all know by now that action by the Israeli occupying authorities. Criticism and concerns alone have no bearing on a fanatical government intent on committing the worst crimes over and over and over again. No one naive enough to believe that Israel will correct course on its own would suddenly respect international law. You know that Israel is breaching it flagrantly and shamelessly every single day. You have called, urged, demanded, to no avail. It is time for resolute action. And I totally understand when you described the tremendous amount of frustration, especially among the Palestinian people, for seeing the Security Council and the international community failing them. How can anyone justify sending weapons to an army listed for its crimes against our children, or any kind of support to a government that is pursuing annexation and genocide, denying the right of our people to self-determination, and denying our and those comprising it their right to life? It cannot be justified. So do not. No arm to help Israel commit its crimes against the Palestinian people. In other words, no complicity. You cannot give inoculation and kill the children that you inoculate against polio. Measures, sanctions, warrants, arrests, accountability. No impunity. That is the only way forward. Mr. President, in recent days, Israel has killed over 30 Palestinians in the West Bank. Among them, 6 children and 2 elderly people. It has destroyed refugee camps and civilian and besieged and attacked hospitals and carried out countless airstrikes. Jenin is a vivid example. The number of West Bank, including East Jerusalem, since last October stands at around 700, including over 150 children, with the number of injuries at 6,000 people. Over 3,300 Palestinians have been displaced and over 12,000 people have been detained. Hostages endured a never-ending nightmare. In parallel, Israel is advancing its settler colonial agenda. More and more settlers installed and more Palestinians displaced. Violence by settlers and soldiers is spreading like wildfire, people out of their homeland. Israel wants you to believe its military aggression is about security. But it knows by experience that it's creating the conditions of insecurity. No one is naive enough to ignore what this is about. It is about the land. All guilty of being Palestinians and for wanting to live on their land, the land of their ancestors. Their sentence, ethnic apartheid, arbitrary detention or death. How long will they have to suffer such a terrifying fate? Should we all that we did not see the Knesset vote against a Palestinian state? That we did not see the terror against Israeli settlers perpetrating? That we did not see the Palestinian people displaced over and over again? That we did not see the mass killings and destruction? That we did not see the map praised by Netanyahu where Palestine was disappeared? That we did not hear an ambassador sitting around when he called the Security Council Resolution 2334 an quote-unquote evil decree, claiming those who respect the authority of this council are terrorists? Should we pretend we don't see how fanatic, how murderous, how crazy, tempestuous this Israeli government is? Should we pretend that we never heard of the UN Charter, of the Security Council and General Assembly resolution, of the ICJ orders and advisory opinions, of the ICC, of every single body ever established to uphold the rule of law? Just ignore their unequivocal determinations regarding Israelis' unlawful actions, their demands for a halt to its human rights violations? Should we allow Israel to continue its genocide against the Palestinian people while pretending to negotiate a ceasefire? Don't listen to me. Listen to the families of the Israeli hostages. I'm sure that all of you have been watching CNN, BBC, and others for the last few days. What the Israelis are saying, what the entire Israeli population are doing, including in Tel Aviv and hundreds of thousands of people. They know Netanyahu does not care, that's what they say, and does not want a deal. They know that so-called military pressure means genocide against innocent Palestinians and certainly hostages. We said months ago, we need to spare civilian lives, Palestinian and Israeli. I repeat, months ago, in many of our statements, we need to spare civilian lives, Palestinian and Israelis. We said months ago, we wanted to see Palestinian and Israeli united in life, not in death. But Israelis' colonial plans require death to prevail on both sides, to convince everyone there is a solution possible, to ensure that there can be no two states, no two peoples coexisting side by side. We must not let them prevail. I repeat, we must not let them prevail, or we will all pay the price. Mr. President, Palestinians in Gaza have endured pain, and that cannot be described. That cannot be comprehended given its magnitude. Our colleagues from the international humanitarian, the heroes who go and provide our people with fabulous services to stay alive in the Gaza Strip, they tell us no matter how we describe the horror of Gaza, it's not like seeing it with your own eyes. That's what they tell us. That's what they tell you. As is on with its genocidal onslaught, those who have still survived face violence and death at every corner, starvation and disease them down, besieged by trauma and despair, displaced from one bombed shelter to destroyed hospital to mass grave to another. We are grateful for the international mobilization through WHO, UNRWA, and UNICEF and others to stop the spread of polio among our children in Gaza. It remains. Israel's war machine continues undeterred. Its bombs and missiles killing and injuring every day. It's the of life conditions spreading other diseases like wildfire. The vaccine campaign is an emergency undertaking, but not enough to stop the suffering. How much more is the international community willing to pay the price for Israel's crime? When will the time come? Insist that Israel bears the costs politically, morally, and financially for its illegal actions. When will the time come when it is finally impose consequences for such defiance and criminality? When will you finally decide to impose a ceasefire, as you suggested, Mr. President, and several times, and we totally agree with you? We need ceasefire. Ceasefire now. Everybody is saying that, not only the Palestinians, but the millions of Israelis who care about their hostages, and they're saying to their leadership, which is not listening to them, ceasefire now, close the deal, accept, the project or the proposal on the table so that we can stop the killing and save everyone, the Israeli who are hostages, who are prisoners. They are saying that. I'm not saying that. They are saying that. It must be now, because if not, all that will be left ruins and anger. Every day that we fail them, we sentence so many innocent children, women, and men to death. We must act to protect and save. That is the only possible response, the only measure of history's judgment. Mr. President, we believe in the rule of law, in the sanctity, in freedom and dignity and justice, in shared peace and security. We believe nothing justifies harming civilians, justify harming prisoners, nothing justifies collective punishment, nothing justifies inflicting pain on children, regardless of nationality or race or religion. These are our beliefs. These are our values, and we expect recipients are not lesser beings. In a few days, all of you will have a chance to send a clear signal that the Israeli occupation must end, that this colonial supremacist rule will not be tolerated, that the rights of the Palestinian people must be respected with the determinations of the ICJ, the highest court of the land, in accordance with the universal rules of international law. It will remind you of your obligation to be complicit with this cruel occupation and to act decisively to bring it to an end, and to bring it to an end as soon as possible. Palestine remains the most important test for the international law-based order, a test it cannot afford to fail. When you vote in the General Assembly, and very soon, remember all those who were killed and all those who survived only to endure torment that should endure. It is now or never. Either you stand up to these fanatics or you watch the fire devour on its path. You are either on the side of the arsonists or the firefighters. You cannot be on both sides.